the 1953 top set, and the stories behind the men. In this series, I'll be unpacking stories of the men on the cards of the 1953 Topps baseball set. Most cards in the set are called commons by the hobby, but the men on the cards are anything but common. Cards 46 through 50. Johnny Klipstein, card number 46. John Klipstein was born in Washington, D.C. on October 17, 1927. John played baseball and basketball at Montgomery Blair High School in Silver Spring, Maryland, a Washington suburb. He was president of his junior class and president of the student council his senior year and graduated in 1945. When he was just 15 years old, he had an opportunity to show big league scouts his ability. "I was visiting an uncle in Appleton, Wisconsin in the fall of 1943, Klipstein recalled. As fate would have it, the Cardinals were conducting a tryout camp there, and I enrolled because I thought it was a pretty hot article that after 1 year of high school baseball." He was signed the following spring by longtime Cardinals scout Pop Kletchner. At age 16 years old, he reported to Allentown of the Class B Interstate League. Klipstein was drafted into the United States Army in 1946, and he missed the entire baseball season. Klipstein was the recipient of many awards, including the Ken Hubbs Award for exemplary conduct on and off the field. He was also inducted into the Illinois Sports Hall of Fame. Klipstein retired in 1967 after playing 18 years for 8 major league teams. He finished with a 101 and 118 career record and a 4.24 ERA. He had a sense of humor about his career. For years, people used to ask me, "When did you have your best season?" And I always answered, "I never had what I would call a good one." After his playing career ended, Klipstein resided in Chicago. He scouted for the Tigers until the mid-1970s and then worked for a corrugated box company into his 70s. An avid golfer, he followed the Cubs closely and was a longtime Cubs season ticket holder, president of the Chicago Old Timers Association, and past president of the Pitch and Hit Club. Johnny Klipstein died October 10, 2003 at the age of 76 while listening to a radio broadcast of the Cubs versus Florida Marlins game. It was the 2003 National League Championship Series. On May 26, 1956, the Cincinnati Redlegs and Milwaukee Braves faced off in a game in Milwaukee. The result was one of the most unusual games in the history of each franchise. On the mound for the Redlegs was Johnny Klipstein. After a 1-2-3 first inning, Klipstein found himself in trouble in the second. He loaded the bases by hitting Hank Aaron and walking Bobby Thompson and Bill Bruton. Aaron scored on Frank Torre's fly ball to left field, but Klipstein avoided more trouble by striking out the next 2 batters. After 6 innings, the Redlegs were losing 1-0, but Klipstein was working on a no-hitter. His counterpart for the Braves was Ray Crone, who was pitching a 3-hitter. Klipstein walked 3 more in the 7th, but again was able to work out of the jam. In the 8th inning, with the Redlegs' Smokey Burgess on second base and 1 out, Klipstein was due to bat, and the unthinkable happened. Shunning tradition, Redlegs manager Bertie Tebbetts pinch hit for Klipstein despite his no-hitter through 7 innings. Klipstein was relieved by Hirsch Freeman and Joe Black, who each pitched a hitless frame, thus completing the unthinkable 3-man no-hitter through 9 innings. The Redlegs tied the game in the top of the 9th inning. The Braves finally got a hit in the 10th and won the game with 2 more hits and a run in the bottom of the 11th. Though the Braves were held hitless for 9 innings, Major League Baseball removed the game from the official list of no-hitters in 1991, when it was decided that a game in which a team didn't get a hit until extra innings would no longer be considered a no-hitter. "We all would have made history if I could have gotten the Reds out of the 9th inning," said Ray Crone, who gave up the tying run to the Redlegs in the 9th inning. "The Braves would have won even though they were held hitless." Klipstein's performance, 7 no-hit innings with 7 walks, a hit batsman, and 4 strikeouts could be seen as a microcosm for his entire career. Great potential, with flashes of dominance tempered by poor control, which resulted in fine performances often being overlooked. In 1961, Klipstein relieved Bob Perky to start the 11th inning in a 0-0 game against the Houston Colts 40-5s. In the top of the 13th, Klipstein hit his 5th career home run, a solo shot, and then pitched his 3rd consecutive scoreless inning to give the Reds a 1-0 victory. It was the first time a National League pitcher had won a 1-0 game in extra innings with a home run. Circling the bases, Klipstein said, "I looked to Bob Aspromonte, who was playing third base. I said, if you think you're surprised, imagine how I feel."
Number 27, Johnny Klipstein comes out of the Minnesota bullpen. John, at one time in the Dodger organization, and eventually came back to them and pitched for the Dodgers briefly in the 1959 World Series. Now pitching for Minnesota against the Dodgers. Jim Cott went 3 innings. A little Wild had some pitches get up on him, and Cott in 3 innings allowed 2 runs and 5 hits. Alan Worthington, 2 fine innings in relief, allowed just a walk. Oliva making a nice play. And now Klipstein. For the Dodgers, Koufax has worked 5.
Bubba Church, card number 47. Emery Bubba Church was born on September 12, 1924 in Birmingham, Alabama, where he lived almost his entire life. His older brother Frank had trouble saying brother while they were growing up. Bubba was as close as he could come, and the nickname stuck. Bubba attended West End High School in Birmingham, Alabama, but dropped out in 1943 when he was 17. He felt the need to serve his country, so he lied about his age and enlisted in the United States Army Air Force during World War II. He was sent to Camp Sutton in South Carolina and eventually was deployed to India, where he served in the China-Burma-India Theater for 27 months. While there, he was able to play some baseball in what the GIs called the Tea-Patch League, playing on diamonds hacked out of the jungle. Church managed a team and pitched because he was the only man in the outfit who could throw a curveball. He even pitched a no-hitter. After Church was discharged, he returned to Birmingham, finished high school, and once again played high school baseball. In the summer, he joined 2 semi-pro teams and brought in a total of $105 a week playing the outfield and pitching. Church soon had offers to play professional baseball from the Tigers, Cardinals, White Sox, and Pirates, with the Tigers offering $3,500 in bonus money. He also received a baseball scholarship from Mississippi State University. Church would end up signing with the Phillies and had his first taste of professional baseball in 1947 with Salina, Kansas in the Western Association. He would end up with a 21-9 record and an ERA of 2.93. He also played in the outfield, hitting .280. He attended Louisiana State University and did so for 2 years after the baseball seasons had concluded. During his rookie season, Church was playing a key role for the famed Phillies' 1950 Whiz Kids in their pursuit for a pennant. And a scary moment for Bubba was on September 15, 1950, when a screaming line drive off the bat of Cincinnati's Ted Klusinski hit Church in the face. The ball was hit so hard that it ricocheted into right field. Church collapsed on the mound and had to be helped off the field. He was fortunate to only have a nasty cut below his eye and was able to bounce back soon after. He was elected to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame in 2000. On September 17, 2001, Church died at his home in Birmingham, Alabama, at the age of 77. As his career began to wind down, he would find himself pitching in the Venezuelan Winter League, where he had some success previously. In fact, on January 20th, 1958, Church set a Venezuelan League record by recording 16 strikeouts. He would wrap up his career with being a player and a pitching coach for the Miami Marlins in 1957 and 1958. Playing against Havana that season, Church was allegedly involved in a sombrero incident, in which he, along with pitchers Mickey McDermott, Wendy McCall, and Dallas Green, showed up at the Havana airport wearing sombreros after a night on the town. That's too bad we didn't have TikTok back then. Church retired from baseball for good after the 1958 season and moved back to Birmingham. After a try in real estate business, he became successful running a linen supply business for doctors' offices and clinics until his retirement in 1988. Over the years, Church had become good friends with legendary Alabama coach Bear Bryant. In the fall of 1961, Alabama had an unhappy freshman quarterback named Joe Namath, who was thinking of quitting and heading home to Pennsylvania. Namath considered pro baseball contract that he had been offered from the Chicago Cubs or one of the other organizations that had scouted him in high school. Coach Bryant asked Church to talk to his disgruntled player, and he did, telling Namath about how his sore arm caused him to go 13-20 in his last 4 big league seasons, and had ended his career prematurely. The message was that Namath would be better off staying in college and getting an education to fall back on. Church lied about his age twice. The first was to serve his country, and the second was at the advice of Phillies manager Ben Chapman. Chapman felt that he would be considered too old before he reached the majors, so he recommended that he say he was 21 instead of 22 years old before signing a contract and heading to spring training. Church later said that he and his wife Peggy had 2 children before she found out how old he really was.
The Philadelphia Phillies, who last year captured the National League Baseball title under the guidance of manager Eddie Sawyer, are training for another championship battle. Here at Clearwater, Florida, they have many regulars on hand. Pitcher Emery Church, with 8 victories last year, hopes to pass that mark this season.
Bob Del Greco, card number 48. Bobby Del Greco was born on April 7, 1933 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was a Sandlot star and was a member of the Washington Social Club, an organization started by boxer Charlie Afif to further Hill District use in sports. Del Greco quit high school after his sophomore year to help support his family after his father died in 1947 by playing semi-pro baseball. Pirate scout and Hall of Famer Harold Pye Traynor discovered the youth and signed him off the Pittsburgh Sandlots and to the Salisbury Pirates of the North Carolina State League in 1951 when he was just 16 years old. Another factor in Del Greco's bid to stay with the Pirates as a teenager was his favorable draft status. With the Korean War raging, Del Greco was considered immune to the draft because his brother George had been killed in Iwo Jima in World War II, and Bobby was the sole provider for his mother. "I was easy to sign," he said after he made the major leagues, noting that his signing bonus was $600. "I just hope I can play a lot of baseball and make some money for my mother." Del Greco beamed. "I'm going to build her a new house for her. You can bet on that." On April 16, 1952, along with catcher Jim Madigan and right fielder Brandy Davis, Del Greco would make his major league debut. Del Greco was the star of the day, going 3 for 4 at the plate with a walk and a triple. He had 3 more hits, including another triple in the Pirates' home opener. Del Greco's mother and 40-something of his relatives were in the stands to see it. "Boy, I'm the happiest guy in Pittsburgh tonight," he told the Associated Press after the game. Del Greco only sported a .229 batting average over 9 seasons as a part-time player. He was widely known as one of the finest defensive outfielders in the game and was recognized as such by future Hall of Famers who saw him play. After a minor league stint in 1964, Del Greco played his last Major League Baseball game with the Philadelphia Phillies in May of 1965 and retired from baseball after the 1966 campaign. Bobby Del Greco died of dementia on October 13, 2019. On October 29, 2022, Del Greco was posthumously inducted into the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. After his baseball career, Del Greco returned to Pittsburgh and drove a newspaper delivery truck. He also threw batting practice for the Pirates when they were at home. He recalled a time when he was in the minors playing for manager Frank Lucchesi late in his career. Lucchesi once told him he'd end up as a truck driver. Years later, when Lucchesi was managing the Phillies, Del Greco approached him. "Mr. Lucchesi, you're a prophet," Del Greco said. "How's that?" "You once told me I'd end up as a truck driver. Well, I'm driving a truck for a Pittsburgh newspaper." Del Greco continued working as a full-time newspaper delivery truck driver for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette until he retired in May of 1993. He also occasionally pitched batting practice for the Pirates, who awarded him $3,150 of postseason earnings when they placed second in the National League East in 1977 having won the division in 1970 and 72 and 75 and capturing the 1971 World Series. Bobby Del Greco was a classmate with young Frank Gorshin, who would go on to be an accomplished actor and comedian. You might recognize him as the Riddler from the original TV series Batman. Now, on the top left, we have a photo of Del Greco sliding at home and Yogi Berra standing watching. Below that is a picture of Del Greco with Ralph Kiner in the middle. And over on the right, you'll see Moe and Larry of the famed Curly Moe and Larry. And bottom right, Del Greco with all of his boys dressed in A's uniforms. Faye Throneberry, card number 49. Maynard Faye Throneberry was born in Fisherville, Tennessee, a rural community about 22 miles east of Memphis on June 22, 1931. A better athlete than student, he was held back twice in grade school and eventually dropped out of high school 2 years before his scheduled graduation. Faye batted nearly .500 for the high school baseball team. Moving on to play American Legion ball with the Corbett Motors team, after leaving high school, Faye batted .480 there. By early 1950, he was being heavily scouted and courted by big league scouts. Largely a backup outfielder for the Boston Red Sox, 1952 to 1955 and 57, Washington Senators from 57 to 60, and for the Los Angeles Angels in 1961, he was the older brother of big leaguer Marv Throneberry. The Detroit Tigers made an offer to Faye, and on March 18, 1950, he signed. Less than a month later, Baseball Commissioner Happy Chandler ruled the contract invalid in violation of the prevailing rule. The 18-year-old Throneberry was ineligible to sign a professional baseball contract until June 4th, the day after the original class with which he entered high school graduates, and after clubs have been bulletined with respect to eligibility. Mary Throneberry, his mother, was anxious for the bonus money and advised that, quote, Faye should have graduated from high school in June of 1949, taking into account that Faye was 2 years behind his classmates. Commissioner Chandler would disagree. Instead, Faye signed with the Boston Red Sox in June. The Yankees made me a very nice offer, but I thought the Red Sox offer was just a little bit better, Faye told the United Press. In November of 1952, Throneberry joined the United States Army for what turned out to be a 2-year tour of duty. He did his basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and spent time in Korea during his stint. When Throneberry returned for the 1955 season, the Red Sox had an opening in left field. Ted Williams had announced his retirement. By mid-June, Ted Williams had returned and reclaimed his left field position. After the 1960 season, Throneberry was selected in the expansion draft by the Los Angeles Angels. After limited duty for the Angels in their 1961 inaugural season, 24 games and 31 at-bats, Throneberry was optioned to Toronto of the International League on July 22nd. He bounced around the minors for a couple more seasons before he was finally released by the Pacific Coast League's Tacoma Giants in 1963. Faye Throneberry died of heart failure in Memphis on April 26, 1999. He was 67 years old. His brother Marvin, whose major league career lasted from 1955 through 1963, had died in 1994. 10 years after his professional baseball career had ended, Faye was back in the news. He had become a professional bird dog trainer. Miller's Miss Knight, a 6-year-old white and orange pointer owned by Roger Hayes of Pulaski, Tennessee, and trained by Throneberry, was named top U.S. Field Trial Bird Dog of the Year in 1973. Miss Knight and Throneberry won competitions in Grand Junction, Tennessee, and Dallas, Texas. Faye was awarded $500, a plaque, and a bolo tie bearing the gold and silver Top Dog Award emblem. Chuck Dressen, card number 50. Charles Walter Dressen was born on September 20th, 1894 in Decatur, Illinois. As a young man, he loved to race horses, and for a time he considered becoming a jockey. His sharp mind and quick reflexes made him a standout in baseball and football. Despite his small stature, he stood 5'5" and weighed less than 150 pounds. While working as a switchman for the Wabash Railroad, he played for various football and baseball teams for whatever they were paying. The going rate to have him pitch was $7.50 a game. His arm wasn't quite good enough to impress the scouts, but his hitting and fielding were. Dressen made his big league debut as a pinch hitter on April 17, 1925 with the Cincinnati Reds. He stayed with the Reds through the 1931 season. Out of baseball as a player himself in 1932, he took on a job with the Nashville Vols after betting on himself. He boldly told owner Fay Murray that if he failed to win more than half of the remaining games, the club would not have to pay him. There was 77 games left on the schedule, and the team was 38-38 going into the last day. Playing in Atlanta, the Vols fell behind early. They rallied to win, and Dressen got paid. He also got a one-year deal to manage the club and play third base in 1933. It was as a manager of the Vols that he earned a reputation for an encyclopedic knowledge of player tendencies and situational statistics. After the Giants lost a player to health reasons, Dressen signed on with the Giants in September of 1933. Although he didn't play during the 1933 World Series, he helped the Giants win Game 4. With New York leading the game by a single run in the bottom of the 11th inning against the Washington Senators, the bases were loaded with one out. Carl Hubbell was now facing rookie pinch hitter Cliff Bolton. There is some question as to who called the timeout. Was it Dressen or was it Giants first baseman and player manager Bill Terry? Either way, Dressen ran from the dugout on his own initiative and told Bill Terry, quote, "You're playing Bolton wrong, Bill. Put your infield back and pitch him high and outside. He hits down on the ball and he's slow." Terry hesitated, but decided to take Dressen's advice. On cue, Bolton bounced into a double play, and the Giants won. The incident stamped Dressen as a potential Major League manager. The 1951 season saw the Giants and the Dodgers tied for first at the end of the season. The Giants had stormed back from a huge deficit with the help of some sign stealing. A best-of-3 game playoff was necessary to determine who would win the league pennant. In the ninth inning of the decisive third game at the Polo Grounds, Dodgers starting pitcher Don Newcomb had a 4-2 lead with 2 men on base when Dressen decided to go to the bullpen where Carl Erskine and Ralph Branca were warming up. Erskine is bouncing his curve, the manager was told by his bullpen coach Clyde Sukeforth. Dressen called for Branca, whose second pitch to Bobby Thompson was hit into the left field stands for a 3-run homer, a 5-4 Giants win, and a National League pennant. Baseball's shot heard around the world. Branca throws. There's a long drive. It's going to be, I believe. The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant. Chuck Dressen died on August 10, 1966, in Detroit, Michigan, at the age of 71. As mentioned earlier, Dressen was a standout football player. He played professionally as a quarterback for the Decatur Staleys, a forerunner of the Chicago Bears, in 1919 and 1920, and the Racine Legion of the National Football League in 1922 and 1923. In 1947, Hall of Famer Lee McPhail returned from military service and bought a piece of the Yankees. As the general manager and president, he immediately lured Dressen and Red Corridon from the Dodgers. Dressen broke a cardinal rule of baseball, however, by signing his Yankees contract while still a Dodgers employee. That breach earned him a 30-day suspension and 1/12 of his salary. One of Dressen's special talents was his ability to steal opponents' signs. From his vantage point in the coaching box, he was often able to make out how many fingers the catcher was putting down and then relay this information to the batter as the pitcher began his windup. Once, when Joe DiMaggio was at the plate, Dressen flashed the sign for a curveball. The pitch was a fastball up and in, and DiMaggio had to act quickly to avoid a beaning. He cursed Dressen after the at-bat and ignored his signs thereafter. The Yankees won the pennant and World Series in 1947. Charlie Dressen became the answer to a baseball trivia question. Who was the only man in uniform for New York City's 3 baseball teams, the Yankees, Dodgers, and Giants, when they clinched a pennant. Chuck Dressen. Dressen's big league managerial career and record with 5 teams was 1,008 and 973, including 298 and 166, a .642 mark with the Brooklyn Dodgers. He managed 2 pennant winners, playing for a world champion with the 1933 Giants, and coached on World Series winners in 1947 with the Yankees and in 1959 with the Los Angeles Dodgers. As a player, he was active in 7 big league seasons and had a career batting mark of .272. Dressen was a third baseman, manager, and a coach in professional baseball during a career lasting almost 50 years. He is best known as the manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers from 1951 to 1953, where he won 2 National League pennants. There's a picture of Dressen with Branch Rickey, and if you move immediately to the right, you'll see Dressen looking at Cincinnati Reds' Ted Klusinski. And on the far right, you'll see Dressen shaking hands with Jackie Robinson.
Remember this? Charlie Dressen does. It was when Bobby Thompson ruined Charlie's first season as Brooklyn man 51. Thompson hit the most memorable home run in baseball history in the 9th inning of the deciding playoff game between the Dodgers and Giants. It snatched the pennant from Brooklyn and sent it flying over the Polo Grounds. Giant fans went mad with joy. Thompson was the hero of the hour. For Dressen and the Dodgers, it was wait till next year. So, do you blame Charlie Dressen for deciding he'd had enough of Brooklyn? Charlie took Horace Greeley's advice and went west. He became manager of the Oakland Coast League team. Now the baseball season is open again, and here's Charlie back by the Golden Gate.
Chuck, how does it feel to be here in Sacramento? What do you think about the season this year?
Well, you know, I opened up here in 1949. It was a little bit different. Naturally, I'd like to win this first game. They lost the first game last year. It don't feel any different here than it does in the Major League to me.
What's your idea in the Major League situation? How long before they'll have Major League ball out here, Chuck?
Well, you know, you can't just grab a Major League club out of the trees. You got to get a franchise. Naturally, they got the franchises out here, but you have to get a Major League franchise. Then you have to have suitable parks to seat the people. I don't think parks of 12 or 15,000 is large enough for the Major Leagues. All right, boys, now listen. Let's try to grab this first game. You know, last year, you lost the first 4 games. You know, if you get the first one, you got a chance to win all of them.
Right.
That right?
Right.
All right, boys, let's go. Come on.
It's not about the cardboard. It's about the men on the cardboard. They have stories. Thank you for taking a little time to learn a little bit more about these players.